Bully, are you ready to get back out to the Busted Open Nation?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go to somebody who was at Monday Night Raw last night. And let's go out to Nick in Sheboygan. Good morning, Nick. Tell us about the crowd at Raw last night, buddy.
Okay, so first thing, my son, it was his first ever Raw, and he actually took me back in a lot of ways, including with the pyro. When Drew's pyro went off, he jumped up 10 feet, and I saw myself the first time I went to SmackDown, and Bubba and Devon came out, the missile when it hits the stage, or when Kane came out. That was all awesome. It was a cool start there, but like it's that middle where it just felt like he was starting to get bored, and my wife was kind of feeling the same way and everything. The one thing I could put over is Jey Uso saved that Raw. Jey Uso made the whole thing feel like a party. He made us have the time of our lives. Like, it just ended on a really good note. But if I could say one thing about Raw is when it goes to Netflix, it has that opportunity to change a huge thing. I think Raw really needs to go back to 2 hours because it is brutal. That 3 hours plus main event coming on before that, it's just a lot.
Main event beforehand definitely does not help.
Yeah, because now you're talking about a 4-hour show, and Nick, it is interesting to me because I felt like last night's Monday Night Raw was very close to like an old school WWE house show, meaning that there wasn't a lot of talking last night. I would say the majority of last night's show, Bully and Nick, was wrestling. So I figured that would probably keep your attention more, Nick, than a show that had a lot of talking segments, but maybe it was the wrestling, or you're saying it was just the length of the show in general.
And my son was really dying to see like Punk, come out and kind of mess with Drew and get a little bit more of that, and then Drew made that remark about Punk not hitting, he only hits the big towns, brother. That kind of hurt Punk. I don't know if that was Drew's goal, you just heard the huge somber in the crowd, like, oh, like they truly believe that Punk wasn't going to be there.
Well, here's the thing, especially for a parent taking their child to see a specific wrestler these days, unless that specific wrestler is 100% healthy and cleared, and even then there's no guarantee, you can't just bank on seeing that one person, because then you're setting your kid up for, to be disappointed. And right now, Punk is not cleared. Yes, they are peppering him in on certain shows, but
I will say that one thing that really caught his attention is this story of kind of the divide that's coming between Otis and Gable and the thing with Sammy. Like that story right there, he was asking me so many questions. It seemed to really catch his attention. It interested him. He's a huge Otis fan. He loves Otis, and he loves seeing him kind of try to go back to being the old Otis. And then when Gable tried to shut all that down, and then like he lost his mind when Sammy defended him, but then he's asking me questions, why is Otis still going with Gable? I like that he like really locked into that story. So
and that's a positive. That's a really, how old is your son again?
He just turned 6. I took him for his birthday.
I mean, this is a 6-year-old asking questions about the story being told from not an A storyline. That's no disrespect to Otis, Gable, Sammy, and Sammy's championship, but it's not the A storyline. But they went out there and they captivated your 6-year-old enough to start asking questions. That is a beautiful thing, my friend.
Yes, they made him care.
Well, what's your son's name? What's your son's name?
Jackson.
Well, happy birthday, Jackson. And Nick, thank you so much for the phone call. And it's an interesting phone call, too, because I agree with Nick. Bully, 3-hour Raw, that's long, especially if you have a 6-year-old. Like, it's going to be hard to keep a 6-year-old's attention for basically what he said, 4 hours, because you had main event before Monday Night Raw. The other thing, Bully, we've had a lot of discussions about this, is you are splitting your roster in half. You have Raw and you have SmackDown. So there's going to be stars that are big stars. Cody Rhodes, not on that show last night. Logan Paul, not on that show last night. You're going to have stars because of the brand split that aren't going to be on Monday Night Raw. And then you can make the case that CM Punk is the biggest wrestler on Monday Night Raw, is your biggest star on Monday Night Raw, and he's out with injury. So, and then you're also having a tournament to see who's going to move on to a PLE. So you're going to get some matches with some B talent on the show because there's tournament matches that are being set. So, yeah, last night might be a tougher one of those shows to sit through for 3 hours.
And I will tell you this. It's not as, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not as apparent as in the past years, but the WWE is suffering from a little bit of a WrestleMania hangover right now. I don't think it's nearly as bad as past years, but there's a couple of things going on where I'm like, there's a little bit of a hangover, but I think they've got so much goodwill built up in the bank within the WWE universe that they're plowing through.
All right, so perfect example would be last night's Monday Night Raw. Now, I don't know if it was sold out. It looked like
it wasn't.
All right, so it looked like it was close to a sellout, but a pretty big crowd. But here's the thing. Cody Rhodes, who's the hottest wrestler right now, is not going to be on that show. Roman Reigns right now is out. CM Punk is out. You can make the case those are 3 of your top 5 superstars on your roster that you're not going to have on that show last night.
If it was up to you, Dave, and I don't remember back to the original. I mean, I do remember the original roster split. I just don't remember what I'm specifically about to bring up. Maybe you do. Did the world champion at the time work Raw and SmackDown?
You mean before this last draft?
No. Inaugural draft. Like when me and Devon got split up. First draft. Did the world heavyweight champion at the time work both shows?
If I recall, I believe they did. Because there was only one, if I recall. But then soon after that is when they started having the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship.
If you had the pencil and you were in charge, would you have your World Heavyweight Champion on both shows?
Yes.
I don't understand why you wouldn't. I don't understand why you would have a World Heavyweight. The undisputed World Heavyweight Champion is only on SmackDown. Or did they set some new rules forth in the draft?
Well, here's the thing. If you're going to go back to that original draft, don't forget, Bully, there was a time where Monday Night Raw was live, and for a very, very long time, SmackDown was taped. Like, it was very obvious that Monday Night Raw was your A show and SmackDown was your B show. Like, that was very, very apparent because one was live and one wasn't. Now, both shows are live. And I would think right now, even with the changes that are going to happen, Bully, you would say that in the eyes of the WWE, there's not an A show. They want you to perceive Raw and SmackDown to be equal to one another. So, again, I don't perceive the World Heavyweight Championship to be on par with the Undisputed Championship. I think what you should have is Cody Rhodes is your main champion. I mean, Cody Rhodes, you would agree right now, Bully, Cody Rhodes is the hottest pro wrestler right now is Cody Rhodes, correct? Especially coming out of WrestleMania. Well, he's only going to be on one show. He's not on Raw. So already you're handicapping Monday Night Raw. And then the other thing is that you don't necessarily need to have him wrestle, but just make an appearance.
In order to balance these shows out, in my opinion, there's only one guy on the Raw side that can carry that World Heavyweight Championship where you'll be happy to see him if you don't get to see Cody. CM Punk.
It's CM Punk. Now, I will say Jey Uso's pretty close. our last caller, Nick, said that Jey Uso saved Monday Night Raw. They call him main event Uso. I mean, he has been in the main event now quite a few weeks.
Do you think so? In my eyes, in the WWE, there's only 2 tag team guys that ever got out of the tag team shadow and are more memorable for their singles run than their tag team runs, and that's JBL and Shawn Michaels. Am I missing anybody?
I'm sure there's others that I'm not thinking of, but those are 2 of the biggest for sure. Yes.
You might be able to say Edge, but Edge's tag team stint was very short. Edge and Christian were only together for like 2.5 years.
Bret Hart? Would you put Bret Hart there?
Okay. My point is this. Yes, Bret's another great one. Can Jey Uso get into that conversation? Because if he can't, then he'll never be that guy.
I think he can. Right now, I think in a lot of ways you can make the case that Jey Uso is carrying Monday Night Raw. Last night would probably be an example of that.
I mean, listen to what the caller said. He was there.
But look at the crowd reaction for Jey Uso. Is there anybody on Monday Night Raw, and I'll even throw CM Punk into the equation when he makes his appearances, is there anybody that gets the reaction that Jey Uso's been getting?
Jay's getting a tremendous reaction right now. And no, I don't. Maybe CM Punk can compare in initial pop, but Jey is getting a sustainable reaction throughout his entrance and his matches.
So maybe the discussion we should be having, Bully, is are they doing enough with Jey Uso? Should they be pushing Jey Uso even more than they're pushing him? Should they have Jey Uso in a major feud where he is going after the World Heavyweight Championship?
I'm sure that they perceive Jey in a great way. I could not tell you if they, and when I say they, I mean creative, I don't know if they see Jey Uso as potential to be the guy or World Heavyweight Championship material. And it's very hard to get out of that. In order for this to happen, we have to stop thinking about the Usos. They've done a pretty good job. I don't really think about the Uso. When I think of Jimmy and Jey, I don't think Usos anymore. I think Bloodline.
Yes, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. But I also feel, Bully, like since what we've seen with Jimmy Uso getting kicked out of the Bloodline, do we see, I have a feeling that eventually we're going to see Jimmy and Jey Uso back together again.
And this is why the push might be to a certain level. They might be going, all right, we're going to get them right to here, but then we're going to stop it because the plan is to get them back together for the Bloodline story, which will take precedent over Jey Uso getting over on his own.
And think of this, Bully, right now with the WWE. You have the potential of Jimmy and Jey Uso getting back together again. Now, whether you think Jey Uso would be bigger and better by himself, that's definitely a discussion to have based on what we just talked about. But think about what kind of big moment it would be when Jimmy and Jey Uso reconcile and get back to being a team. You have that. At some point, Roman Reigns is going to come back. When Roman Reigns comes back, he is going to be the biggest babyface in the company. There's no doubt about it. And, CM Punk at some point is going to come back from injury, and he is going to be one of the biggest players in the WWE. And by judging from what we saw last night with that commercial, which actually got me super excited, that WrestleMania commercial for Las Vegas, who was featured the most in that commercial was The Rock. So you're getting The Rock coming back as well.
Survivor
Series. 5 things that are going to happen between now and then.
Survivor Series, Bloodline, War Games. Let me see if I can get this right. Rock, Solo, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa versus Roman, Jimmy, Jey, Sammy.
Boom. Now, that would probably be for, I mean, if you're judging from last year, I guess that would be at Survivor Series. So
Yeah, I said Survivor Series.
Yeah, so think of what you could potentially do for SummerSlam coming
But does
up in
that
August.
that works for the War Games, right? Based on how everybody's character is right now,
I think
right?
it works. I think it works. I think it definitely works. So you're at some point you're going to get Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. You're going to get that bloodline feud, right? You're going to get Cody and Rock at some point. Those are three major storylines that for the WWE right now is on your back burner. And think about how hot the company is right now. And I really, truly believe, Bully, this is a little bit of the lull for the WWE and a little bit of that WrestleMania hangover. Because when you look at those 5 things I just talked about that still need to happen and those 3 major storylines that are going to happen, that's what's going to carry you from SummerSlam to WrestleMania next year in Las Vegas. Like,
yeah,
the WWE's got a pretty hot hand that's going to carry you into 2025.
And I can tell you, just because of being around for a while and seeing how the stories play out, they have an idea of what they want their main event to be at WrestleMania 41 in Vegas. They have an idea of what they want their semi-main event to be. Based on that, the WWE is booking backwards. How do I also think I know this? Because of the way Hunter thinks. Hunter thinks very old school. Hunter learned a lot from Vince McMahon. There is no doubt. But Hunter being old school and being a fan of dusty booking, and in my opinion, the best type of booking, they're booking this backwards. And when wrestling is booked backwards, that's when you get your best stories. I can always tell who's booking week to week and who's booking long-term. What we're seeing right now in the WWE is long-term booking. Now, can something happen along the way? Of course. Look at what happened with Rock. Look at that couple of weeks where they had no idea what to do. They were scrambling because they thought The Rock was going to be one thing, or maybe just Rock thought he was going to be one thing, but the people said, we ain't buying it. This final boss character should be leaned into very heavy. Rock and Cody, major legs. Rock and Roman, major legs. Bloodline, major legs. And they're booking it backwards.
And the thing about it, all those things that you're talking about is this is why the brand split gives me a headache, is that by judging from what you're looking at right now, that's all stories that are going to play out on SmackDown and not Monday Night Raw. I just feel like when you have stories that are that big, they should bleed on to both shows. That's where I get crazy when it comes to this brand split.
You know how I feel about a brand split. I have never been a fan of it. I am an all hands on deck at all time fan of a roster. I don't want to feel like I'm watching, two different things. Listen, I know it works for them financially. I know bigger picture, it's a much better idea for them and branding and 2 different networks and whatever. But I like having everybody there because I think you have a responsibility, just like a coach has a responsibility to put the best 9 guys on a baseball field, best 11 guys on a football field. I believe that a booker and creative has a responsibility to the fan base to put the absolute best show with the best talent out there every given night that a wrestling show is on.
Agreed. And I feel like the one thing I know for sure, Bully, is The Rock is going to be in your main event at WrestleMania 41. I just don't know if it's going to be against Cody or it's going to be against Roman. But The Rock is going to be in the main event at WrestleMania 41.
As of right this very minute, I could not guarantee you that Cody Rhodes is in the main event at 41.
No, and now that's the thing. Do you wait on Rock and Roman? You know how you were talking about waiting on Cody? Do you wait on Rock and Roman for another year? Like, do you pay off Cody?
It's a long
and
time,
Rock?
Dave. It's a long time.
Yeah, I know it's a long time, but you still have Cody and Rock. So you could pay off Cody and Rock first, because I really do feel like the exclamation point on the biggest story is the Bloodline story, and that's Rock and Roman.
Remember, when Rock, well, this is, I can't say this for a fact, but I think there's a hypothesis. When Rock showed up, who did he want to main event WrestleMania with?
He wanted to main event it with Roman.
Now, they got to sell out Cleveland, right, for SummerSlam.
Yes.
Is it so beyond the scope of possibility that you get Rock and Cody at SummerSlam and Rock wins and goes to 41 against Roman?
You could get Rock and Cody at SummerSlam and then have Rock and Roman at WrestleMania 41.
But Rock beats Cody for the championship.
That's another discussion to have.
No. But wait. But would you be quick to throw that idea out the window?
I wouldn't be quick to throw it out the window. No. But again, I think we've said it a million times. Rock and Roman doesn't need to be for a championship.
Correct.
And now, and honestly, now that Roman has lost the championship, now you definitely don't need it to be for a championship.
And you know, one of the things that has sat with me is why Rocky wanted to hold and touch that belt again, Cody's championship, and why he brought the Muhammad Ali championship out with him. Did you ever give it that much thought?
I mean, there's so many reports and rumors like that. If what we initially thought was going to happen and it was Rock and Roman, that Rock was going to beat Roman for the championship, but then give up the championship because he was going to then call it a career and that was it. And then he was going to have that People's Championship as like the forever championship for The Rock, being that he was always the People's Champion.
Do you want to see that championship involved? If it was Rock and Cody, would you want to see that made up People's Championship be a part of this storyline?
No, because I'm one of those people that doesn't even want to see the World Heavyweight Championship. So if you throw in a People's Championship, it means absolutely nothing.
Right.
It means absolutely nothing to me.